recording and start. Right, there we go. Okay, everybody, this is an official branch impact call. The title of today's call is Succeeding Through Adversity. And I am so excited for today's message because I think given the fact that we are in the middle of May and pretty much all offices are open right now, I know from experience, I also know from stories that there's a lot of adversity that comes with being a branch manager. And oftentimes it's adversity that you didn't see coming your way. And I remember being in your shoes back as a first-time branch manager, hearing some of the war stories, hearing some of the adversity that previous branch managers have gone through, but I was thinking, oh, that won't happen to me. I'm going to have every single rep stay through training. No one's going to walk out on me. Every single person that starts is going to finish. No one's going to quit on me. And then I quickly realized that, you know, things happen as a branch and you can't always control it and you don't always see it coming. So the reason why I chose specifically the middle of May to do this call is to speak with all of you and acknowledge the fact that there is adversity and acknowledge the fact that, hey, some things might not be going the way that you originally planned, but that's okay. And we've got a great group of panelists tonight. We're going to be talking all about some of the things that they went through as branch managers last year and how they overcame the adversity and ended up being in the top 30 from last summer. So before we do that, I do want to just go over a couple quick house cleaning tips here. As you all know, we have the Branch Impact page up and running still. That page is designed to be a support group for all of you. I love seeing the questions in there. I love seeing the hot news in there. Please continue to feel empowered to share that hot news. I know some of you might feel like you're bragging when you're talking about yourself, but in reality, you're actually helping and inspiring other people. So when you do share your hot news, I want to encourage you to share a tip along with it, or I encourage you to share a lesson that you learned in the process of achieving that level of success. And I do want to encourage you to continue sharing because that's what makes our group so special. Also, guys, you will see that in the Branch Impact page on Tuesdays, there will always be a video that's been recorded by a DVM or a DM across the nation on some kind of topic. We had Justin Neefus, the DVM of the Cavalier Division, record a video last week on PDI and the importance of PDI. And then today we had David Kirkner, DVM of the New York Division, record a video on how to have a day 2 PC or a middle of your training PC with all of your reps to make sure that they are seeing their top people. So don't forget to check those out. They are absolute gold. So without further ado, I want to get started in our Branch Impact call for tonight. So we've got 3 different panelists with us, and I'm super excited to introduce all of them. Alex, I have to apologize. Before, when I had Alan and Joseph on the call, I was able to give all of their stats, but because I'm in Michigan and I'm not in front of my work computer, I don't have all of your stats, but I can say that Alex Landry is an absolute powerhouse in the Central region. She had an incredible summer last summer. She was one of the top, I think, were you top 10 branch in the nation? Or top?
I think it was 11 last year.
All right, yeah. Lucky number 11. That's still a great number, but she's an absolute powerhouse, and I cannot wait to hear her deliver the goods and how she overcame adversity this summer. We also have Alan Muellegger, who you've heard from before on the video about discovering your why. He was the number 30 branch manager from in the nation. He's from the Central region. He is a new DM along with Alex. And then finally, we have Joseph Coss, who you've all heard from multiple times. He's a big contributor in our Branch Impact page. And I don't remember the exact number in terms of where he was in the top branch, but I do know that he had a 200K plus branch. He is now the DOM for Brian Hurlman down in Fairfax, Virginia. So these 3 are super fired up to give you guys the goods. Before we dive into the panel questions, I did prepare a little bit of a message for all of you, really on emotional mastery. And this is definitely a message that I encourage you to take notes on, because I know from experience, again, how stressful branch can be sometimes and how you can face these challenges that you didn't really see coming. And as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, sometimes it's hard to manage your emotions and hard to manage your feelings throughout that process. So this entire message that I'm about to give you was inspired and is inspired by Tony Robbins. I did post an article last week that talked all about emotional mastery. So if you wanted to reference what I'm about to talk about, you can go back to the group and you can find that article because it's literally all there for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's call. Now, guys, when you think about emotional mastery, I want you to think about basically taking your emotions and having them work for you versus you falling victim to them. And what I mean for that is I want you to think about how you can really control your emotions. When you master your emotions, you master your life. And that is a quote directly by Tony Robbins. And so right now, if you have a piece of paper, I want you all to draw a triangle. And in the middle of that triangle, I want you to write the word state. And state, when I say state, I mean your emotional state. And on one side of the triangle, I want you to write the word focus. On the other side of the triangle, I want you to write the word language. And on the bottom half of the triangle, I want you to write the word physiology. So just to reiterate, you should have a triangle. In the middle of it, it says state. On one side, it says focus. The other side, it says language. And the bottom side, it says physiology. So we're going to go through each of these, and we're going to talk about the importance of them as it pertains to managing your emotional state and what you can do to really take hold of your emotions and make them work for you rather than you falling victim to them. So the first one is physiology. This is by far the most important aspect of managing and controlling your emotional state. So every emotion that you feel is first felt in your body. So I want you to all think right now about probably some advice that your DMs or your DVMs have given you in the past when it pertains to your interview. They typically tell you to stand there in your power. And what that means is that you have a power stance. And if anyone's ever seen the TED Talk by Amy Cuddy all about power stance, you know that what a power stance typically looks like is your shoulders back, your legs are firm, you're standing up straight, and you feel powerful in your stance. That's why it's called a power stance. So the reason why we encourage people to have that stance is because it naturally will create the emotion of confidence, the emotion of, I can do this, the emotion of power. And when you're a manager, that's a really good emotion to feel into. Now also, I want you to think about someone who is depressed or someone who is sad. Think about Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. He always looked like someone with his shoulders hunched, his head down, he was slunched over, and of course, he was a more sad character. So when it comes to a negative emotion, typically your body will react in a way where you're hunched over, you're closed in, you're closed off, and people can sense that. And so more than likely, they're gonna wanna approach somebody who has that power stance with their shoulders back versus someone who's slunched over, closed off, and looks like they don't want anyone to talk to them. So that being said, physiology is your first step to mastering your emotions. So when you do find yourself in a negative emotion, I want you to check in with your physiology. How are you currently standing or sitting? Is that current stance serving you, or is it feeding into your negative emotion? Now, if you find that you're having difficulty getting out of your negative emotion, even if you go from here to here, from your slouched over to a more confident feel, maybe you need to get outside of your office and go for a quick walk. Just change your physiology, change the way that you're moving. I know that there was a DVM back in early 2010, 2012 era who had a mini trampoline in his office. And whenever he was upset, he would go on the trampoline and he would jump up and down, and that would snap him out of his negative emotions. So whatever you have to do to break that physiology that you're currently feeling in that negative state, do it. So whether it's changing your state from, or changing your stance from slouched over to shoulders back, or if it's turning on some music and dancing around your office, or if it's going out for a quick walk, just do whatever it takes to break that current physiology that has you in that negative state. Emotion is created by motion. Okay, second thing is focus. So whatever you focus on, you will feel. So if you are focusing on the negative aspects of your business, how nobody's responding to your Facebook Jumpstart messages, how nobody's coming to your interviews, how your your training shows are low, then of course you're going to find more of that and you're going to find yourself stuck in that negative rut. Rather, I encourage you to focus on what am I really happy about in life right now? And it doesn't have to pertain to the business. Guys, I know that when you're a branch manager, you eat, sleep, and breathe Cutco, but there's so much more to you than Cutco. And I can guarantee you, if you sit back and say, what is going really well in my life, even if Cutco is not going the way that you planned, you can pinpoint other things that are going well in your life. And don't forget to pull back for a second and look at the big picture. How many 18, 19, 20-year-olds have the opportunity to run their own office with a multi-million-dollar company? Regardless of whether you reach your goals or you fall flat on your face, you still have this incredible opportunity that you can put on your resume that many of your peers would kill for, but they don't have that. So don't forget to pull back for a second and recognize the bigger picture and to practice gratitude for what you have in your life. Guys, that's why I'm always really big on Thankful Thursdays in our branch impact group, because gratitude is a great way to shift your focus from the negative to the positive. So again, number 2 is focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. So make sure that you are focusing on the positives in your life. Even if they don't pertain to Cutco, they will naturally bring your emotional state to a higher energy versus a lower energy. And then the third one is your language. What are you saying to yourself? Are you catching yourself saying things like, this sucks, this is too hard, this isn't working, why did I sign up for this, I can't get up early, I don't like this, I don't like my reps, all those different things? Are you saying those things? Even if nobody's hearing you, are you saying those things? And if you are, I really encourage you to change your vocabulary. Instead of saying, this isn't working, I want you to ask, how can I improve? Instead of saying, this sucks, say, what's working well right now? Instead of saying, what if, and going down that negative spiral, say, how cool would it be if, and going up the positive ladder, right? You know, with your language, it really matters, regardless of who hears. You hear. And that's going to change what you're focusing on. So make sure that your language is positive. Guys, I remember during my second branch summer, on the back of my door of my personal office, I had a mirror. And this is so embarrassing that I'm going to share this with you guys, but at the beginning of every day, I would come into my office, I would close my door, and I would read that poem that a lot of you have heard. So I would read that first that I wrote to myself. And then I would look in the mirror and I would literally repeat to myself, I am a badass, I got this. And just alone in my office, repeating to myself. And like sometimes I give myself a chest bounce. Nobody saw it, but I would do it because it got me in the right state of mind. So sometimes these things might feel silly, but for me, it helped me create a $150,000 branch summer. So I want you just to focus on those 3 things, your physiology, your focus, and your language. All 3 of those things will make a drastic change in your state. So again, if you want to learn more about this, you want to hear more tips and tricks about this particular topic, I want you to look at the article that I shared. I think I shared it like last Thursday in our group. I will repin it so that way it's a lot more accessible to everybody, but read through it. It is brilliant. So that brings us to our amazing panelists, and we have an awesome lineup of questions for all of you guys tonight, so definitely make sure that you're continuing to take notes on this. Are all of the panelists ready? Just give me a thumbs up if you're good to go. Good to go. And Joseph, there you are. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. So my first question here, guys, and make sure that you unmute your lines. So all the panelists, please unmute your lines. And we're going to go in the order of Alex, Alan, Joseph. Cool? All right. So question 1, in 60 seconds or less, please walk all of us through how your first month open as a manager went for you. What were your expectations and what were your reality? So Alex, you can start us off.
So my first summer opening, I didn't really know what to expect. I just heard that it sucked. So I kind of went into it very open-minded, just listening to my manager and following my schedule, getting to the office every morning. Then surely and slowly enough, it ended up picking up. So then I think my second summer, I put more pressure on myself. And so I had higher expectations. And when things weren't going right, I started, like Shelby was talking about, focusing on everything that was going wrong. And I think we're talking about how to get over that and action steps that you can take a little bit later. But it's just very different. It's all a numbers game. It's just like selling. As long as you keep working, it's like making phone calls, but it's like recruiting, scheduling people is like making phone calls for demos. It's very similar in the same way. The more you make, the more you schedule, the more people you show, the more you sell. Or the more people who show up for the interviews, the more you sell, kind of analogy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you just viewed it as your sales role, kind of the same thing, just slightly different.
Right, just trust the process, yeah.
Trust the process, cool. All right, Alan, in 60 seconds or less, walk me through your first month as a manager. What were your expectations and what were your reality?
Yeah, so my expectations versus reality happened throughout May, very similarly to the way that Greg, my DVM, had framed it for me in the very beginning. When I remember we were at a year-end banquet, and I was talking to my dad. I wanted my dad to meet Greg, and Greg, my dad goes to Greg and says, "Hey, so my son says he's going to do $125,000 in business. What do you think he's going to do?" And I was all proud, chest was out, and Greg goes, he goes, "I think your son's probably going to go out and do 50,000." And I remember I felt this huge punch in the gut. I was like, oh, I literally couldn't believe what I heard. And it kind of sized me up, and I was like, all right, no, I'm still going to do it. But my first branch, that's exactly what happened. I had this like huge expectation that I was going to go out and do massive big things. And I ended up doing okay. It wasn't, 50, we did 54, I think, my first year, but in May it was really slow. We didn't do anything crazy, but I remember that it was like a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. And that you want to do reality versus expectations, correct?
Yeah. And guys, by the way, I'm just going to frame this really quickly. We're going someplace a lot more positive than this first question. We just want to get this all out there. That's why it's in 60 seconds or less. So thank you, Alan. Joseph, what about you? In 60 seconds or less, what were your expectations and what were your reality?
Again, not to be negative, but not anywhere what I expected at all. I remember I went out to, California to a giant immersion event, and I was on a plane back to North Carolina, and I was just envisioning, 30 grand first weekend, I'm going to crush it. Oh my God, it's going to be awesome. And it was just not my reality in the beginning. So it was a big, kind of a big punch to the face. It was very humbling. I'm thankful for it, but my expectations did not meet my reality at all.
Cool. So guys, as you can see, a lot of these top branches had very similar experiences to maybe what you're going through right now. So no matter where you are, it's okay. So the next question, Alex, we're going to have you start here. So all that being said, coming from a top performing branch manager last summer to all of the new BMs and even the second year branch managers out there, what would you say is the optimal mindset for May?
Just keep pushing. Like I said before, it's all about trusting the process and knowing that it will turn around. So kind of having faith in yourself. And it's hard because you do have people not show up. You do have people say rude things to you over the phone and you start doubting yourself. But all you have to know is that if you let the fear start creeping in, that will take over. So as long as I started journaling last year. That was something that was huge to kind of keep my vision, keep my goals there, and know that that was what I was working for. That was what I was striving for, and just always looking forward. So having a forward focus is definitely helpful in May.
Cool. All right, Alan, what about you?
For me, it comes to a relentless commitment to being just positive no matter what. What I learned from May was that, even just running an office in general, is that when adversity comes your way, you have two choices of how to respond. You can either respond negatively or positively. I don't think there's an in between. And I just saw for me, what a really good May mindset is, if you can commit to yourself to, no matter what comes your way, to just like commit to be positive to it instead of negative, no matter what it is, like to force yourself to kind of laugh at it, smile at it, come at it and put your chest out, whatever it was. To me, that was the best way to do it, because it ended up making May a lot of fun, because you ended up having, like, for me, I was like fired up every single time something bad happened. I was like, all right, there are over 300 other offices in the nation, and if that happened to them, they're feeling the exact same way as me, but I'm going to choose to be positive as opposed to be negative about it. So that's what I would say is a good May mindset.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned I'm just going to laugh at it. And that does make it a lot more fun for sure. All right, Joseph, what about you?
What I would say the best optimal mindset for for May is just, again, understand that where you're at, it's okay. It doesn't matter if you're at 20 grand right now, 50 grand, $0, negative $500. It's gonna be okay. Like Alan said, it's a relentless. I'm gonna work my butt off, and I'm gonna make this happen. I had a great mindset going into branch, and that is and my mindset's why I came out on top and successful. But I would definitely say, no matter where what you're feeling right now, understand that it's gonna work out. It's a foregone conclusion. We sell and represent the greatest product in the history of the universe. You just gotta bust your butt. The worst thing you do is compare yourself to where others are at. They don't have your same situation. It's different. You need to run your own race.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to touch on that really quickly, guys. I know in the branch group, sometimes you can see other people's results and get a little bit discouraged, but you have to remember everyone's territory is different. Some territories are much, much, much higher in recruiting than other territories, whereas other territories are much, much higher in PPR than other territories. So you really cannot compare yourself. The only thing that you can do is put your blinders on and focus forward. And just do what you know to do in your territory, and everything will work out, guys. This is a tried and true system. We've been putting branches out for the last 25 years. If it didn't work, we wouldn't do it. So next question here. Joseph, this is specifically for you. So I know that for you especially, your expectations going into May were very different than your reality. You just mentioned that you had high expectations. So what would you say to a branch who might be feeling like their reality is far less than what they were expecting?
So to give you guys a quick Reader's Digest version for how my first month went, I got out to my territory in Hickory, North Carolina, the second week of May. I was open by the third week, and I was recruiting. And for the entire month of May, I did $5,600. And was getting my kicked by every single person in my division. It really sucked. But what I would say to it, wherever you're feeling right now, it's really important to understand that it's gonna happen. The whole time I was getting my kicked, it was just talking to my DVM, talking to my mentor. I was like, it's a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You just got to keep working your butt off, doing the right things. Focus on being a person that others would like to follow, and it's going to work out. Everyone starts different. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. But the biggest thing is, hey, how are you going to react to this? Are you going to focus on the negative? Are you going to focus on the positive? So no matter what your reality is, I just want to reiterate, understand that as long as you keep busting your butt, you keep focusing on the right things, you keep faith, it's going to happen. It's going to work out. You're going to ship a lot of blades.
Yeah. Absolutely. Alan or Alex, do you guys have anything to add to that question at all? I can't see Alex. Is she saying no? Okay, good. Cool. Also, guys, I wanted to touch on the fact that it is only May 15th. And I think that's my first branch summer. I wasn't even open until today. Like, as you saw in the branch ImPACT group, I literally have my time hop remind me today that this day on in 2013, I ran my first branch, and I opened up my first office, and I didn't run my first interviews until May 16th. So for all of you out there that have been open for the last 3 weeks, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You can still have an awesome, awesome, awesome summer. Like Joseph said, I mean, he didn't have the best May, but still went on to have a $200,000 plus summer. But I love that advice, Joseph, that you just gave. I thought it was awesome. Okay. So Alex, This question's for you. I know that you had big goals to compete with Fran O'Malley last summer. And by the way, guys, Fran O'Malley had, I think she was a 40K plus May, could have even been in the 50K. So, Alex, for you, how did you turn your frustration and your comparison into motivation and momentum?
Yeah, I am very competitive. So having her be that far ahead of me, especially we beat her the summer before, I kind of had it in my head, oh yeah, we'll beat her this summer for sure. And so when I saw all of her results and I saw all of, what was going right for her, it was, again, I kind of got in that down on why is this happening to me, or like why is she getting or why is she doing so well. So one thing is I just stopped really focusing on what she was doing, and I said, you know what, I just have to put my head down, like you said, your blinders on, and just do whatever I could that was in my control to help get our summer started along. And once I started focusing on that, once I started doing whatever was best for our office, and just, again, not really paying attention to who else is out there. Because, again, that it motivates some people. But for me, I'm more of a let me run my own race. And then once we start picking things up, then we can start competing and have some fun with it. But I think just focusing on what you can do that's in your control is the most helpful thing, and staying positive, like Alan said.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love that. Okay, cool. Joseph, did you want to chime into that at all? Because I know that you're a very competitive person as well.
Yeah, I hate losing more than I like winning.
Really? I would never have guessed.
So the worst thing I did, it was just compare myself to other people. I remember one of the branches, Lindsay Nichols. She was a badass. She was a 28K fast starter. Sold 65 grand the summer personally before she went out on branch. Me and her were very close, and no one really expected her to beat me. But the first week, she was just slapping me all around the sales report. And the worst thing I was doing was getting frustrated with myself for not being, on top and winning. And that's what really led to the biggest mistake that I made as a branch when I was new. And I feel maybe this will resonate with a lot of you, is I was focusing on me and myself and my money and my goals and my me, instead of focusing on my people. I was so worried about beating other people and being the best and all this stuff, but I lost sight of what the most important thing about branch is. If you're in branch for the money, you should quit. You're not this is not for money. It's for impacting other people and really helping them become the best versions of themselves. So as soon as I flipped that mindset and really started focusing on helping others, running interviews to impact, to develop and to attain, and to help people get what they want, not what I want, that's where the switch flipped. And that's where I, again, started, slinging blades week in and week out. And that's where the culture developed. And then once we had momentum, then it was fun to compete and talk a little trash here. But I made sure that I put my people first before myself at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, I just want to make one quick comment on what Joseph said, guys. If you are doing this to make money, that's okay. Just make sure
I didn't mean it like that.
It doesn't come across as the main thing. So I know.
That's not me.
Just wanted to make sure that your tracks are covered.
I'm kidding. Focus on your people.
Yes, focus on your people for sure. If you come across in a way where this is all about you, you run the show, whatever they do is for your pocket, that's not going to be a powerful branch by any means. So yeah, I love what both of you guys just had to say about comparison and just running your own race. So Alan, this question's for you. I know that when we spoke on our prep call, you talked to me about how frustrated you were at your performance during May. So what specifically did you do that shifted your entire mindset, ended up being a pivotal moment for you being into your summer?
Yeah, so for me, it started out with reaching out to people that I knew were like, at first it started out with just reaching out to Kyle Smith, who's our sales manager. So he was not sales manager, sales promotion manager. Yeah. Because I knew that he's always good at lifting people up, and I just needed advice. And I talked to Greg. And at this point that I had reached out to him, I was not the kind of person to reach out to somebody. So I was kind of the person to sit in my negative bubble prior to that. And I reached out to Kyle. I was like, Kyle, I feel like a failure. I feel like I've really like blown it. This isn't good. And he's like, Alan, first of all, you're not a failure. But the thing he said, you know, wherever you are right now, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. And for whatever reason, that really clicked in my head, and it really changed how I thought about things. And what I started to do after that point was I started to, in terms of looking at other people and reaching out, that became a consistent habit of mine, was that I wouldn't look at the numbers, the CPO numbers of people, as indicators of who's better and who's not at the job or as people or whatever. I looked at the CPO numbers as indicators of who's doing things right and who probably has the best energy right now, and how I can feed off of that energy, how I can gain energy from that. Because one of the things I loved about what Kyle also said to me was that, you know, you need to reach out and talk to people, because if you stay in your own head, in your own space, you're never going to get another influence to allow you to change your head and your space. So if you want to go from your way of thinking to a more positive way of thinking, you need to have somebody to do that. So reaching out was one thing. And then another thing too, with that, you know, with reaching out and gaining positive energy from others, was if ever I remember there were 2 specific trainings where I was having a really hard time with just being positive when things weren't going well. I remember I shut all the lights off, locked the door, I blasted out my favorite song at the time, and I can't remember what it was. It was like really popular. For some reason, the song really hyped me up. I think it was called The Bomb by somebody, and it was a really good beat. I literally just like listened to the song, closed my eyes, just did a lot of deep breathing, and just got myself in the zone and just tried to feed myself with as much positive energy as possible to block out any of the negativity. But that, yeah, those are the 2 big things that I did, was just force myself to, instead of compare myself to others and make myself think that I was worse, go, okay, they obviously have good energy that I can get from them. That's who I need to talk to. And then I just made sure that I managed my energy when I needed to.
Yeah, I think what you just said, like that entire response was so much gold. And I hope that other people felt that too. There are a couple of things that you said there that really resonated with me and kind of clicked with me too, in a way. First thing I just want to say, guys, we are so fortunate to be in a company with the support systems that we have. The fact that you could reach out to your SPM, which, by the way, guys, for the ones in the Midwest, you know, that's Joel, and the ones in the Northeast, that's Travis or Jay. So all of you should feel comfortable reaching out to these guys and being like, hey, I want some help. And they're there to help. They're there to support you. That is their job. So just the fact that we have so much support, don't shy away from using it. The second thing that you said, Alan, that I thought was really powerful, and it's something that I continuously remind myself of today, is wherever you are right now is exactly where you are meant to be. And as an overachiever, which I know 95% of you are, myself included, it's very easy to get stuck in this mindset of I'm not doing enough. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. But in reality, and I think Joseph even said it too, and Alex probably said it too, this is a reoccurring phrase, wherever you are right now is exactly where you are meant to be. It is part of your story, and you are going to move forward knowing what you just went through and only going up from here. And also the last thing, Alan, that you said was kind of summarizing it all, was CPO does not define you as a person. What CPO shows is who's doing things well in their office and bringing the energy. And those people are the ones that you want to reach out to, because they're going to give you more energy. It's almost like you're going to plug into their life source and gain that knowledge and gain that energy. And then you're going to be able to go to your office and bring it to the other people. So it's not someone who's better or worse. You're not better or worse. It's just someone who's doing the job at a high level. That's that. Doesn't mean that they're a good or bad person. Simple as that. Cool. Well, Alan, I appreciate all of that, because that was really, really, really good. Okay, back to all 3 of you. Next question. So remembering back to this time in May, what advice would you give to yourself? So Alex, you can start.
I would say what helped me a lot last year, after talking on the phone with Mike Muriel, our region manager, was I was talking with him. I was like, I'm not where I want to be right now. Part of the Fran's kicking my butt. mentality. And he was like, well, what I want you to do is I want you to write down a letter to yourself, basically giving you an A+ summer. So basically the letter went something like, "Dear Alex, congratulations on having an A+ summer. This is what you did great." And then I would list all the things of what ideally would go well to give me an A+ summer. And I did that again this year, and that's helping so far. I've only been open for a few days, but just kind of having, again, that vision that kind of helps pull you through, knowing that the results are going to be there, knowing that things are going to turn around. But physically writing it out was that extra step that I needed to see it. And then whenever I started doubting myself, I would reread it. And that would always be a good reminder to kind of keep me in check.
Cool. I like that. So you would reread it often?
Yeah. Anything whenever I was feeling down or not how, you should be with the energy, I just reread it probably a couple times a week.
I had it memorized by the end of the summer. Dear Alex. Okay, awesome. Alan, what about you?
If I had to, that's a tough one to give advice to myself. I would say the advice that I would give to myself would be break the pattern, break the negative pattern, in that we all have our own patterns that we do, especially when we're feeling negative or our energy is low. We kind of have a sequence that we do, whether that means that, we stop talking to people or our energy gets low or whatever. My advice to myself would be identify what your patterns are for negativity and just recognize them and break them every single time, is what I would say.
Yeah, bringing awareness to that is key. It's huge. All right, Joseph, what about you?
What I would definitely say is, I would say if I can go back in time and fix anything or tell myself something, I'd say don't be so intense. As you can tell, I went out in the beginning, when I went out and branched, I was very intense in my interviews. I was telling people I was like, my biggest struggle in Cutco and as management in the beginning, I've been here for almost 4 years, was trying to work with people who aren't necessarily like me. And I think it's very important to understand that not every rep wants to work 100+ hours a week. Not every rep wants to grind necessarily, and that's okay. It's important for me, and if I can go back and tell myself, it would be important to really understand that when you run your interviews, everybody's a little bit different. You're going to have to recruit a lot of kids to find the ones who are like you, who are going to be your right-hand guys. So if I can go back in time and say, don't be so intense, be a little bit more relaxed in your interviews, relax when you talk to your reps. And I would also say, if I can go back in time, one more thing I would probably say is really focus on your strengths. Because right now it's May, we're in this thing. What you're really, really good at is what you're really, really good at. And what you may not be the best at, you're not the best at it, and that's okay. You don't need to be great at everything in our business to be successful as a manager. You just have to understand the foundation, the fundamentals of everything. So my strengths are PDI and training. So I really made sure that every single day I crushed those two things. And recruiting is really a thing I was really good at too. I made sure I crushed that. And then everything else, organization, maybe PCs, whatever is that I'm not as great at, I don't worry about that. Focus on my strengths and not my weaknesses.
Yeah, that's powerful too. Because that allows you to have a win per day, and one of the things that I love to talk with the branches that I coach is, hey, how can you create a win for yourself first thing in the morning? And sometimes it doesn't have to be Cutco related. If it's just getting up early and going for a run, that's a win right there. And focusing on your strengths allows you to have more wins throughout the day versus getting yourself down on the weaknesses. Guys, honing in on your weaknesses is fall and spring stuff. It is not summer stuff. Your weaknesses are your weaknesses. That's fine. Focus on your strengths now, because that's when it matters. So thank you for that, Joseph. That was really great. Okay, next question. This is the last question before we head into the Q&A round here. So guys, again, any last minute tips, tricks, or action steps that you recommend a branch do who is feeling a little bit down about their results thus far? So Alex, you can start.
Yeah, part of the triangle, I know, I believe it was focus. And I think one thing that's super important is gratitude. And so just every morning I do the 5-minute journal, which is at least 3 things you're thankful for. And usually I end up writing a little bit more in that spot, just because I feel like it opens up your perspective and it doesn't allow you to only focus on, what's going on in the business, but what's going on in your life that's going well. And it allows you to, again, just gain some perspective. And I think that helps with the whole mentality of staying positive and being thankful that you're a branch manager, thankful for given the opportunity of running your own business, thankful for maybe it's your family or your friends who you can talk to, reach out to in the business. But just doing that every morning, like we were just talking about, the little wins, that's an easy one. And I think it kind of helps put things in perspective.
Cool. Alan?
Yeah. One thing I would say is like a last minute tip for everybody would be to make sure to drink a ton of water and to eat healthy. It's really an interesting thing, but without doing those 2 things, you can really, like, your energy gets sapped from you. I remember last summer it just happened out of habit that I had started a thing where I wanted to drink a gallon of water a day for 30 days during the school year, and it ended up rolling over into the summer. And what I noticed on the days that I wasn't drinking a lot of water was that I just felt sluggish, game over. It wasn't working. But if I had water, if I was drinking a lot of water, I could command energy at any moment of any time of day. And I noticed somebody on this call they had a gallon of water, and I wanted to shout out what they sent. So I think they moved over to the phone. But that was awesome. Anyway, yeah. So eating healthy, it can be in this, especially when you're running an office in the beginning, when you're there, start of the day, end of the day. It can be really challenging to eat the right things and drink the right things because fast food's everywhere. So it's easier to do that than it's actually healthy. So, you'd be amazed how much that changes your energy in May and in the entire summer. So eating and drinking healthy, I think, is the biggest thing for me as an extra tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go off of that really quickly, guys, I recorded a live video last night, I think it was, on the Branch ImPACT page about energy and how your energy transfers. And a lot of that starts with what you're feeding your body. So you have to think about your body like a BMW. And the BMWs only take premium fuel. And you're not a crappy little, I don't know, I can't even think, I'm not a car person, but you're not a crappy car, you're a BMW. And the BMW deserves premium fuel, which is premium foods, because you can't run on crappy foods. So that's a huge thing too. And I think it's something that a lot of people overlook. Joseph, what about you?
I have definitely a few things that I would recommend for you guys that really helped me. Number one would definitely, is cheesy, cliche, practice gratitude. I know the other panelists, Shelby mentioned that too. That's literally the most powerful thing. And the fact that me and all the branches are saying that, it should really mean something and stand out to you guys. However you got to do it, wake up in the morning, just, walk out, say thankful, write it down. I mean, I would literally just walk into a room when I was a branch and I would just scream, damn, I love my job. Yeah, I would just scream that in the middle of the room. My reps can tell you I could just do that, and they're like, why? I'm like, I don't know, just do. So I would definitely practice gratitude. Incantations, that's kind of new. I know Shelby loves doing those. I absolutely love incantations. After this, I'm going to post a video in the Branch ImPACT for you guys to check out. Every morning before training, I did this because it was a very special incantation to me. And I'll post that for you guys to check out. But every morning before training, I would just scream in my office these, very similar to affirmations, except with the incantations, use your whole body. So that I would definitely suggest practicing that. Number 3, if you haven't already, I'll get a mentor, somebody who's done it before and has seen success. I would suggest somebody who is in Cutco but not a manager. If you know a good CSP who ran an office, or for me, it was Matt Warren. He's my mentor. He's a CSP in Carolina. He was a great PSM, never branched, but I had a great relationship with him. And I was able to bounce ideas off him and get different perspectives. He had no investment in me necessarily. So he was just a great relationship that I developed. So whoever that's got to be with, I would suggest that. I would avoid speaking to people who may not be in the place that you want to be quite yet. You want to protect your energy. So I would focus on speaking to people who, who are seeing a lot of success, or who have seen success in the past before, but they understand the Kutka grind. Wouldn't complain or ask your girlfriend or boyfriend for ideas because if they're awarding Kutka, because they just don't understand. They don't get the grind. They don't get the programs. So I would definitely suggest that. And last thing I'm going to suggest to you guys that really, really changed the game for me is you need to give all the Kanyes in the world while at the same time giving 0 Kanyes. So what I mean by that is you need to care, but you don't need to care. When you're running your interviews, you want them to show up, of course, expect that to happen, but if it doesn't happen, okay, it's fine. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of other kids that you can recruit. Don't let one sharp kid cancel training, ruin your day or ruin your week, because there's a million other sharp kids out there. That's their loss. Sucks for them. They don't get this amazing opportunity. So really give all the Kanyes in the world while at the same time don't give any.
Yeah, that's powerful too. I like your phrase that you used there. Give the Kanyes.
Yeah, that's some Ben Skimper stuff.
Oh, cool. All right, guys. So that brings us to our Q&A portion of tonight. So for this Q&A, given the fact that we have touched a little bit on some of the negative aspects of May, I don't want this Q&A to be a boo-hoo session. So if you have questions, make sure they are productive, structured questions that look for a positive outcome. It is not a whining session. But that being said, I don't want to intimidate you not to ask questions here, but the Q&A session is officially open. As usual, just use the chat feature here to ask questions, or you can just, if you're on your phone, unmute your line, shout out, and we'll try to get to you. So Q&A session is open. We'll see who. Okay, Josh Vaughn. So let me find you on here so I can spotlight you. There you are. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Oh, there we are. So yeah, my question is just like to stay out of like the negative mood could be for anyone. Did you just like have like a specific thing you always did, before your interviews? We were talking this a little bit out of our, I think it was our staff meeting, just having a certain routine to always do something before your interviews. The same every single interview each day, for whether you have 2, 3, 10, or 1. Just to keep that mindset good and going.
Yeah, you need to go on Vector Connect and listen to Trey Ketchum's interview prep speech before. It's about a minute long, and I like to listen to that. I haven't memorized, but I like to hear him say it. So I would go to Vector Connect and look that up. I literally have it voice memoed on my phone. And I wasn't doing it at the beginning of this month, and I had a little bit of off show, but my show has been phenomenal since then because I play it. Literally, I would sit in my office, and it's just this thing. And I literally just play it, and it's awesome. And it gets me fired up, gets me in the right mindset, and I look myself in the mirror. I tell myself I'm the best recruiter in the company. I look at a picture of my mom, and then I'm off into the interview, and I crush it. That's what I would do, and I suggest you need to figure out what works for you.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice, thanks.
All right, Michael Foreman. Hello. Go ahead.
What's up, guys? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. So I heard a lot of people talk about, so like Alan, he touched on like eating right, and then Alex touched on like journaling, and like, so my question is kind of like, when we talk about the sharp recruits, what are some of the habits that you guys had in terms of like habits and like professionalism in order to hold yourself to that high standard so you could attract the people that you wanted to attract? If that makes sense.
Yeah. You guys can always chime in too on it, but for me, one of the things that I always did was punctuality. And like for me, I am always at my office at 6:30. No exceptions. No one beats me to the office. Like I really think that punctuality is one of those big things, because like, it's challenging to ask a lot of representatives or of anybody, I think, that you're leading if you yourself are also not giving a lot. And so for me, if I know that I'm committed to being here at 6:30 every morning, or whatever it is, like, if you have a regular routine, if you put a lot into it, and punctuality for me is a really big one, you're going to automatically be more professional and be more ready to work with those top recruits, because punctuality is something that all professionals do. So I would say, like, being on time to everything relentlessly, that's a big one to be ready for those really good recruits, because you'll feel better that way.
Alex,
Another
do you
thing
wanna add
I would
something?
say, Michael, sorry, real quick. I know that you're a confident guy, but I feel like when I was always interviewing like the sharp recruits my first summer, and they seemed, I don't know, like going to a prestigious college and studying the hardest major out there. I feel like my first summer I kind of got intimidated by that, and I think they could pick up on it. So I would just say confidence. Like, you know what you're doing. You're obviously a branch manager for a reason, and if you paint that vision for them and what they're building and their opportunity, I think that your confidence will tie them in and they'll want to work with you, no matter how sharp they may be.
Yeah, that's great.
I would love it.
Yeah, that's really good. Josh or Michael, I wanted to say something to you too. You want to think about your energy, and you want to think of you are the mirror to your reps. So you want to act the way that you want your reps to act, and you have to set the tone. So just like Alan said, like, you have to be punctual. You have to show up in time. Otherwise, you can't ask that of your reps. Like Alex said, you have to show confidence. You have to exude positivity. You have to dress professionally. You should always be the best dressed person in your office. You have to give the energy. Otherwise, they're not going to give it back to you. Your reps are going to mirror what you do. So therefore, you need to be the top-notch version of yourself at all times. So yeah, that's just something that I recommend doing too. All right, Brad.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. Go ahead.
So I just had kind of a quick question, just if anyone has an answer, it's great, because I'm just, quantity is good for this question, but some meaningful questions that you ask any of your interviewees in their pre-screen.
What you're looking for a question to create a better connection?
Yeah.
Okay. What, Alex or Alan, you guys can go first.
I think part of the pre is just really showing that they're not just a number and that you're actually listening to what they have to say. So one of the things in the Chicago division that we learned from Danny Lewis, who has like a 60% show for interviews, is you ask the question, what is one thing you're really looking to get out of the summer? And they answer, and don't just go, okay, and write it down kind of, but repeat back to them, okay, so if I understand you correctly, this is what you're looking to get out of the job. So that way they're like, yeah, and they feel that connection, and you're kind of instantly building rapport and clarifying what's in it for them. And then that also helps you in the actual interview focus on what you should emphasize to them when you're going through pay, flexibility, environment, stuff like that.
I like that. Brad asked the same question. I'm like, hey, what are you looking to get out of work? You're looking to get a lot of income, experience, resume, something fun to do. And whatever they say, I write it at the bottom of the sheet and I highlight it. And when I'm going through my interview, I know what to talk about. I know who to make eye contact with. Oh yeah, this person needs a lot of money. Bam, I'm going to talk to this person. I'm talking about the pay. Oh, they need a lot of experience. I'm going to make eye contact with this person. The pre-screen, I think, is very important to establish a comfortable environment, set a precedence for what's going to happen. I don't think you necessarily need to ask the most meaningful questions in the pre-screen, like, tell me something you never told anybody else in your life. I think, again, the post screen is really where you can ask a little bit deeper questions now that they've known you a little bit longer. That way you make it feel like they've earned the job and you haven't just given it to them. That's just my thought on that. That's what we teach here in Virginia.
Cool. All right, Kirsten, your question.
Hi. So I'm finding that I have a rep, and she is not, I get used to being challenged on a certain level. And so I'm trying to negotiate having those difficult conversations where she feels like she's put in a ton of effort, but her payoff, like especially for her interview name, she came in with less than the minimum required. And she tried to be like, I worked so hard on this. I put everything into it, but clearly she didn't, because all the other reps had exceeded 30 names. And so I didn't know how to have, I struggled to have that conversation with her that, I was happy for her work, but like I expect more out of her, and that what she did was kind of not acceptable.
So what did you say to her?
I said that I kind of went along the lines that, like, I understand that, this is a challenge, but considering that everybody else was able to come in, I feel like you could have reached out to me. There were a lot of tactics you could have tried to do before we got to this point, and that I still want to work with her if she's willing to, work with me.
Yeah. So this is a very situational question, and I don't want to spend too much time. Kirsten, we can actually have our own call to kind of talk about more of this together. But Alex, Joseph, or Alan, do you have any quick tip on maybe a situation like this?
Yeah. So with reps like that, when they have a belief system that says that they did a lot of work, or they don't quite match up with reality, because it's like, you know, if somebody comes in with 5 names and numbers or whatever it is, and you know, they could have gotten a lot more. Obviously, they didn't work really hard on it. So what I do is I ask, this is kind of the thing that Mike Muriel does, but just ask really specific questions and get them to realize the difference between their reality and actual reality. So like, ask questions like, so how long did you spend on your names list? And they'll say, oh, I spent 4 hours on it. And it's like, so you sat down for 4 hours and you literally did nothing but write on that paper for 4 hours, and you only got 5 names down. So you wrote down 1 name for every 45 minutes. And it's like these questions that kind of get down to the reality of what happened. And by the way, I don't try to, I hope that didn't come off like me being a total a-hole, but like,
oh, great. I like it.
But it's like, and I say it with kind of a joke and a smile on my face, because here's the reality. They know they didn't put that much work into it. You know they didn't put that much work into it. You're the manager. They're not. Sometimes representatives can make us feel like we don't know what we're talking about, but we do know what we're talking about. We're managers. We've done this before. You've all done the same things that your reps are trying to get past you. Like, I would say my quick tip would be to ask specific questions to really get down to help reshape their reality for what it actually is.
Great, thank you.
That's a nugget right there. I love it. All right, Patrick Woodring, where are you on here? Okay, cool. Hello. Ask a question.
Hey guys, so I have one question. I found that so I have my first like 3 kids going into training right now. I'm actually still in high school, so my schedule's a little wonky, but I have my first 3 kids going into training now. But when I was an AM for our district office, and I was like either doing PDI or stuff like that, I found that I'm a little soft on people, and I have trouble kind of having those harder talks. Do you guys have any suggestions on how to either like get over that, or like maybe a talk on Vector Connect on how to be a bit firmer, particularly when you have a rep that really needs that hard talk? I found that I'm a little lenient on that kind of.
Alex, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Okay, real quick, I am a merchant, a very big merchant. So my first summer, I kind of learned my lesson, and I was easier on my representatives, and I didn't really have a ton of high flyers. So when someone, I forgot who I talked to, but they put it in perspective of, well, you're not pushing them to be mean, you're pushing them to be the best that they can be. And once I kind of had that mindset of, okay, the reason I'm helping push this person isn't just to squeeze CPO out of them, but it's to really have them have the best experience that they possibly can working here. And the more money, you know, the more they sell, the more money they make, the better the experience is. So once I kind of had that mindset of, I'm not doing this to squeeze the CPO out of them, I'm doing this to really help them have the best experience here at the Lake County office for Vector, that completely changed my mentality of, oh, I don't know how to have confrontations with people, or, oh, I don't want to push them too hard. I was able to have those conversations a lot easier, knowing that that was what was best for them.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Alan, do you want to go?
Yeah, I echo everything Alex said, and on top of that, one of the things I discovered from first summer to second summer was that those challenging conversations, they're painful, they're not pleasant, but neither is it when the thing that they were struggling with that you didn't handle, when that comes into fruition and they quit or they get really upset later. So the way I looked at it was, you can either have that painful moment right now and get it right in the beginning, and you can fix it and have them have a great experience the rest of their time, or you can try to take it easy on them, and then you're going to have that painful conversation later where now their entire experience has been shaped by that one conversation that you could have just nipped it in the bud right away, and now you're having it later. So I was like, well, I'd rather just have that hard conversation now and make sure that they're, you know, in a good way to set up for the rest of their experience with Vector.
Yeah, I love that. So guys, it is 9:59. I know Michael has one last question. I'm going to shoot it over to you, Michael, and then we're going to sign off here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just super quick based off of like the tough conversation things. I just thought I'd ask because I've been thinking about this, and I know there's a lot of readers on the call. There's like a book, I think it's called like Tough Conversations or something. I just wanted to know if anyone knew the name of it, or you, Shelby. I know You read a lot.
I not know the name of it.
I feel like I've heard Crucial Conversations.
Yeah, Crucial. What it's called.
Oh.
Okay, for sure. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I knew someone was gonna know.
That's it.
All right,
Okay.
cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, I really appreciate everyone who jumped on this call. I know being a manager, it's tiring, and I appreciate you guys taking an hour of your night to jump on here to listen to the panelists. I know they were all very excited to share some of their insight and their stories about May. Listen, at the end of the day, guys, whatever's happened the last 3 weeks, it doesn't matter anymore. And you still have so much time to make a difference and to make an impact and to have an amazing summer. So don't worry so much. Don't give so many Kanyes. Practice gratitude. Have fun. Get real with yourself. And I promise you that this summer will turn out exactly the way that it's meant to turn out for you. As always, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am here to help you and support you in every step of the way. If you're in the Northeast and the Midwest, my intention is to get out to your office at least once this summer. It might not happen for everybody, but I am making that trek around the Northeast and the Midwest. I'm spending some time in Michigan right now, but I'm really thankful for all of you guys, for all the hard work you're putting forward, and have a great night, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Good night. You're welcome.